it is my great pleasure to introduce the gentleman here on my left, the co-chair of the Veterans First CVEB. He's got some crack members of his team here who, with the group and independently, do wonderful things in the community. Mr. Brian Newberry. Brian is going to speak first on the panel portion. Brian.
Thank you, Bob. I'm going to reach out to our visitor bureau, make sure you get a commission there for introducing folks and letting everyone know what we're all about. I'm honored to be part of Veterans First organization. We've been in existence now since officially chartered March of 2017, so we're a little over a year old. But I'm really honored to be part of this organization, not only for the mission that we do, but the people that I get to hang out with. And here on a beautiful Friday morning here in Spokane, it is great that we have so many here join. So I just want to introduce folks here. I don't know if the camera will widen on out, but directly behind me is Kat Nichols, who works with, and she might have a few words here after I get done speaking, but she works not only for the state veterans organization that was mentioned here, she's also now a partner or representative on the National Homeless Coalition out there battling homelessness for veterans across our great nation. But she also is part of our county here, the County Veterans Office, and it actually is a really interesting story about where she's able to, the state and the county partners to make sure that she's basically covering down on both state issues as well as county issues. And so I think that is really a marriage made in heaven, and certainly if you need to have some ideas for your state on really using employees to maximum benefit, Kat would be an example of that. To her left, then I guess on screen there is Dr. Fisher. He is our new VA Medical Center Director, coming over from Ramstein here recently. He's the center director here, and we appreciate Dr. Fisher for jumping in and supporting our organization. His predecessor, Mr. Johnson, is the one who asked the community to start up this board about a year ago, and we're giving it all we got. We've got our technician in the corner. Thank you, Cisco, for all you're doing here. I'll tell you, the cameras here are spinning, and it kind of makes you a little nervous here. I could have a Cindy Brady moment here, if any Brady Bunch fans out here with every time the cameras move here, you're like, oh, what are they pointing at? But appreciate Cisco supporting veterans across our great country. To the right of our technician, there's Hannah Shope. She is with WorkSource, and she is a partner that is part of our board and helps out a lot. And I don't know if the camera can move it a lot there, maybe if I move, but behind Hannah then is Rudy. You met Rudy Lopez there. He was the one that asked the question of Jim here recently about crossing state borders. Chief Lopez is retired Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, was command chief out at Fairchild Air Force Base, and jumped into helping out the state veterans organization as the head of a great cemetery called Veterans First, and be called Medical Lake Veterans Cemetery, and it's a great cemetery doing a lot of good work out there, and Chief Lopez covers all of Eastern Washington in his duties to take care of veterans who we're saying a final farewell to. So thank you, Chief, for again being my partner. I serve with him in Fairchild. And I think that covers our great team here. I'll just quickly I'm kind of humbled really that Bob would ask us to be a best practice, because I think while we've got a great team here, I necessarily wouldn't say that we're best practices, we're doing the best we can, but we're a small grassroots effort. Spokane is kind of that way. It's a pioneering town, and that's kind of how we've approached this. Out there in the call land here might also be Fritz. We're going to hear from Fritz later on today about noon hour. He's the head of the Seattle VBA regional office. And Fritz is really someone who's emblematic of why our organization is moving forward, because although not everyone is located in Spokane, people are coming in from all different places, and Fritz and his team really make an effort to be part of the local conversation here, and it's not just phoning it in. They're making an effort to be here in person to help us out. So shout out to you, Fritz. I know we'll be hearing from you later. We might even hear during my presentation here. So those are the introductions. There's many others out there. We are a joint force. I didn't mention I'm Air Force, so I'm wearing blue today to be symbolic of that. We still have pride coverage here. Jim is West Point guy, so we've already got a few jabs going on the future Army Air Force football game. I mentioned Chief Lopez is Air Force. Kat is Army, and then we even allowed a Marine to join the team, a Marine lawyer. So that's saying a lot there. So he really brings a fight whenever, you're not someone you want to meet in a courtroom, I'll say that, because Marines never lose. So we've got a great joint team out there, and obviously our civilian partners like Hannah out there helping us out. But really where this started for us, it was a grassroots effort, as I mentioned. Dr. Johnson reached out to Goodwill. My co-chair is Michelle Harris. She wasn't able to be here today, but Michelle Harris is with Goodwill. She's a vice president of Goodwill, and with a great partnership between the Veterans VA and Goodwill, that was a natural partner to reach out to say, can you stand up an organization? We've called ourselves Veterans First because we believe veterans are first, and we've been doing everything we can in this community to do that. I will make a comment on the map. It was great to see everyone out there fighting the good fight for our veterans, including from even Manila out there in the Philippines. So we truly are an international organization. That's good. I do think you give us credit on our little gold bubble. I don't know if we extend that far out. We're still kind of a little bit Spokane-centric. Rudy mentioned CVEB, Coeur d'Alene. We certainly will help there if we can, but we're doing the best we can to get out where we can. But where the challenge for us was when we were approached on setting up this Veterans Engagement Board was the fact is there's so many other mom and pop veterans organizations out there. In fact, Chief Lopez and Hannah are vanguards of an organization called Eastern Washington Veterans Task Force that is an organization that gets together once a month. It's a consortium of veteran helping organizations that just get together and check signals. Is there any grand plan of we're going to go solve this world crisis or help this veteran out? No, but it is a consortium of folks who get together on a monthly basis, and they're very connected, great email network, and they're out there fighting the fight for our veterans, as I mentioned. We didn't want to replace that. Had we started 15 years ago, I think we'd probably be a different organization and been a little more centrally focused on how we're going to kind of push out there and help. But showing on up and saying, we're helpers of the VA and we're here to help you really wasn't going to be a good strategy for us. So Michelle Harris, my co-chair, and I, we went out, we did a listening tour in the first couple months and tried to develop a strategy. Then we invited board members. I mentioned many of them, you already. We have about 4 or 5 other board members not mentioned from the Red Cross and in other areas who help us on out. But we went and developed a punch list. So that was in the winter of 2016. January of 2017, and then by March we chartered our organization. We meet every other month, and we just try to help the veteran experience locally. Like I said, I don't know if we're moving mountains, but I will say that after a year and a half, I do think that we've helped a few veterans out locally, and I do think that we're accomplishing a mission, how small it may be. The way that we do that is we're just tackling projects. Again, where we can be a synergy with Veterans Task Force, with the VA, with other organizations out there, sign us up. We're going to do it. And as Chief Lopez just indicated, you know, state boundaries don't concern us. We just want to help the veteran locally, so if we can go and help over in Idaho, we will. So some of the things that we've done are we've helped procure a van locally to help veterans get to the Spokane Valley Veterans Center. It's not on the bus route. It's a challenge for us for veterans to get there, and that was one of the clarion calls for us to do. So we went out there, we worked with our local STA organization, that's our transit center here, who has vans that are end of their life and they end up giving to the community, and we put our hand up and said, please go ahead and give to us, and they gratefully did so. And so we can't be the owner of it because we're not necessarily structured to be able to do that, nor are we able to ask the VA to be the owner of it. So we ended up finding a disabled sports association here that takes care of veterans, and they were more than happy to say, we'll do it. And so they're now using it. They're using it to travel around the region and pick up veterans and get them to where they need to be. Again, the VA actually has another similar situation out there, and we don't want to supplement that. We don't want to replace that. We want to supplement that effort. So again, we work to make sure that that happens. And lo and behold, Kat Nichols, who I mentioned worked with the CAT, does have a little bit of a budget, and she was able to provide funding. Hey, someone has budget out there. Go team. She was able to provide some funding for gas and other things to help that small nonprofit out. So that's an example, I think, not having the organization as it's structured to be community partners, trying to synergize things, it probably wouldn't happen. So that was one of our first success stories. We're not there yet. I don't think we're getting maximum use of our van. We've developed goodwill, helped develop some flyers, and so those are some of the things that we're doing to try to make it better out there. Another project that we just did here recently that most in this room participated in is we have a 211 call center which helps out city folks on getting help with their utilities. You have a problem, instead of calling 911, you call 211 and someone answers and helps you out. We went and we inoculated that group with veterans experience. And so everyone in this room actually went and briefed these operators, these 211 operators, and gave everything from VBA, veteran rights, gave them medical center information. Someone from the medical center came and gave suicide awareness on how we handle that. I know that's going to be talked about later today. But we went to these operators who really don't have any touch points with veterans and said, these are how this community takes care of veterans. And so we covered everything from, again, death burial benefits to what CAT's doing out there with the county veteran support, and we just made a difference there to do that. So that just finished up in the last couple weeks where we had over a series of 3 to 4 sessions with these operators, and so we'll see where we go, but that's another project that we're helping on to make a difference out there. Another one, our marine lawyer's not here in the room, he might be out there in call land, but one of the things that he's working on is legal benefits. It's up and down. We have a local university that helps out with veterans legal counseling. We have a group out in Idaho who's helping out with that as well, but there's not a consistent kind of legal sessions out there for our veterans. And so he's right now spearheading that effort. I just traded emails with him this week where he's trying to make sure that we're going forward on that. So those are some punch list items that we're working on. I will be honest with you, if this could be my full-time job, if I could be on the VA payroll, we would be moving a lot more mountains than we are. We are volunteers here, and we have day jobs, and then we show on up and we do it. But we've been very regular on meeting every 2 weeks. That holds this group to task. We'll do an evaluation of ourselves and see where we need to go here the start of next year, because we've been going at this for the next 18 months, and then obviously we're going to have to find new volunteers to supplement it. But we use the bylaw models that was out there. The VA, Dr. Fisher, you and your team have really helped us out in a lot of ways for giving us a template, giving us partners that we should be asking for in the community. We see ourselves as a blue collar group. We show up, we do the hard work. We don't check the block and saying we're just doing it because we want to do it. We do it because it's the right thing to do. So Veterans First is our title. We're proud of it. I don't know if we're best practices by any means, but are we making the veteran experience locally happen? Yes, we are. So with that, I just wanted to turn it over real quickly to a couple of my partners to talk real quick so they can get some FaceTime here and get the Cindy Brady camera off of me, and then we'll be going to a couple other veterans groups out there, both in Arizona and Denver, to hear their best practices. Because I think hearing from my Seattle friends, hearing from my San Diego friends, I think we're all doing it different. But as long as we're making a difference for veterans and showing that I care, I think we're all making a difference. So with that, Kat, I've said a lot of words about you. I'll start with you. Do you have any comments you want to say?
Well, I just really think the key to our success here in Spokane, and I can see it going to grow exponentially, is the inspired leadership that we have from the Director of the State Department of Veterans Affairs, Alfie Alvarado Ramos, to Pritz Navaratnasingam with the VA, the VBA in Seattle. Our leaders are very present leaders, and we've had so much support from them. I can't say enough. Mr. Fisher saying so much to be engaged, to be in this room even. I know what you look like, right? It's a beautiful thing to see when the community and the grassroots happen. You get all the people who really care about being there in the room, and we've been able to do a lot, community gap analysis, to make sure that the programs we're offering and the things we're trying to do actually make sense for what the veterans need, as you said already, Jim. So I think our success is having inspired leaders and getting the right people at the table. And I think, between Rudy and Hannah and all the other great folks in the room, we've got a really great team. And I encourage other communities to build those kinds of teams.
Hannah, you're still on camera back there. What you help with WorkSource, so you deal with veterans on quite on quite a bit of issues. How has it been helpful for you to be part of Veterans First?
Well, I really couldn't be more proud of our group that we have here for many reasons, not just the, our mission of the group. Anytime that we have a concern with someone at WorkSource or we have a need that's not being fulfilled, we're able to approach this group, and 9 times out of 10 we get an answer for it. It's not necessarily conventional, response, but it's something that we can give that veteran and sort of hand them that piece of hope. So, being a WorkSource employee, my pillar in the community is employment. It's all about retraining, and it's all about, getting a veteran back to work and giving them that piece of dignity in their life. So being a part of this group's incredibly important for us. We find that a veteran cannot really function properly at work if they don't have the right support, if they're not getting a good meal at night, or they're not getting a good night's sleep, then they have a really hard time with that. So it's really, really fundamental that they get these needs met, and I'm not able to do that without the help of this community and this group. So I thank you as well. I can't add to that enough. I know who you are too, so I'll be darned. If I see you in the airport, we're talking. But, it's something that I speak for a group a lot larger than myself, and I say thank you very much for all of your support.
So thank you, Hannah. Hannah, she's going to throw something at me for saying this, but she's recently a Red Cross hometown hero here, and it's for support of not only veterans, but just making a difference for anyone that needs a hand. We have Rudy Lopez on camera there, so I'm going to toss it to him real quick to get him back on camera here. But Rudy Lopez is, again, an incredible career in the United States Air Force, and he continues to give back to our community here, not just Spokane, but across Eastern Washington, traveling to help veterans understand what benefits are due to them. So, Rudy, I'm really lucky that you are able to be part of our team, and I continue to be able to work with you. But what's your thoughts on where we go and how we've helped make a difference? Go ahead, Rudy.
Well, I think we're fortunate to be in a time where a lot of communities, in particular Spokane, are very, very veteran friendly, and they work extremely hard to take care of that veteran and their family's needs. And that's something that touched me when I arrived at Fairchild several years ago, and we decided to settle here for that reason alone. And there's a lot of great work that's already been happening in the community. So I think a challenge for this group when we stood up, as Brian mentioned earlier, was to find our niche, because we have a task force. It's a veterans coalition. It's a bit of a misnomer in that a task force, you would assume, comes in, takes care of a very specific mission, and then disbands. This group doesn't do that. So they've been around for well over 40 years. They do a tremendous amount of work. And so for us, it was to try to find that balance and not come in and press our will, our desires, our needs above that existing organization that's well-rooted in the community and stretches across the state line, if you will. So I think we've done a good job of that, of finding our way. There's still a lot of work to be done, and I mentioned the Coeur d'Alene area only because the partnership, that 20-minute journey is not that far away, and so we already have existing partnerships and roles within the Coeur d'Alene area that we could, I think, leverage and work to assist them as well.
Outstanding. Good comments. Well said. I mean, that's exactly it. We have really tried to find our niche, and if there is any new groups out there, I think the one plus side that I would say is we have been able, again, to do it in small steps. Procuring the van might sound grandiose, but it really wasn't. It was just doing a grant application, going and making a personal appeal, getting it, some of the logistics with CAD and some funding. I think that was some darn genius. But overall, most of the things are just small steps, and I think that that's what we've been doing ever since we've come into existence. We haven't done anything big, but we've done a lot of small steps, and I think collectively we've at least got a mile down the road for veterans. So now I'm going to toss it over. You can see over my back corner, right-hand corner here is Doc Fisher. Appreciate him coming to this community and helping out. The VA Medical Center is always an area, as we all know, that's a place that gets a lot of attention, should we say. And Dr. Fisher's friendly attitude has really been welcoming in this town, and I appreciate you, Doctor, coming on. He's actually still practicing and taking care of patients as well, so he understands both the administration as well as the medical side. And Dr. Fisher, I know you've been with us a short time, but I throw it over to you on your thoughts on how we make a difference for communities.
Well, thanks, Brian. I will say that it's an absolute privilege to support Jim, Brian, Rudy, Kat, Hannah. As Jim had mentioned earlier, it became immediately obvious that the medical center cannot provide all the services to the veterans in our city and in our state. So we rely on partnerships. I think the Mission Act emphasizes that requirement, and I'm proud to support that act, to be quite frankly. The support we get from our community, our agencies, our VSOs, and other support groups are just phenomenal, and makes my job so much more pleasant. And so I appreciate it, and you have my sincere gratitude for that work. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Fisher, and again, we'll be there for you. And I think one of the things Rudy mentioned, finding our niche, one of the things for us has been we've just wanted to be very careful that we find our lane and that we're helping where we can, but we're not stepping into other people's lanes. I've gone to a couple different forums where people are very upset about veterans benefits, about medical care. There's a lot of toxicity in the room. We had Concerned Veterans of America do a road tour through here, and I was part of that forum, and that was a tough forum. That's just not our role. That's not what we see our role. Maybe 5 years from now, we're going to be more robust, and we can get up there and do some listening for the VA Medical Center, but right now we don't see that. So we're in support. We want to make sure we're there, but we're finding small projects out there to help the veterans. That's kind of where we've taken the flag, and we're flying in here. Bob is really keeping me on task to be a good military member here and keep us on time, and so we had 20 minutes and I used 17, so I'm hanging in there for you, Bob. Before I run away, we haven't heard from Fritz yet. I don't know if he's online, but I'll just take a moment. Fritz, again, we can't say enough thanks to you for joining with Dr. Fisher and just saying we're here for you and we're gonna be active participants. If you're on the line out there, I'll just give you a moment to jump in and just say, your thoughts on being part of our process.
Yeah, hi Brian, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Well, yeah, it's just I'm so honored to be part of this board, and from the day one with your leadership and Michelle's leadership, it's just been something where that short trip, that short 1 hour flight from Seattle to Spokane is well worth the trip, just because we've accomplished so much. I feel like this board, that anything that I can do to contribute, to support. And one thing that I learned very quickly when I first arrived here in late 2014, going out and meeting with stakeholder groups, is there was a need for greater VBA presence in Eastern Washington. So as I sit here today, I'm actually wearing an Eastern Washington t-shirt that I got when I went to Eastern Washington University. So I'm kind of representing in person here. So it's just it's awesome to be part of that community, and I really appreciated the fact that I was able to develop these relationships with all of you, and it's great to have met Dr. Fisher since he just got on board, and he and I have looking forward to working together collaboratively from the VA side to support our veterans and stakeholder groups. So whether you like it or not, you'll be seeing a lot more of me. And also not only me, but also my team. And I have employees who work there out stationed at the medical center. And we're looking at actually expanding our presence and making sure that VBA is filling the needs of veterans in Eastern Washington. So thank you. Look forward to many more productive meetings.
Outstanding. Well, right after this is done, I'm calling the Visit Spokane folks and saying that we've got so much love going on. We'll try to get you on the payroll too. So we appreciate the EWU support out there. So with that, I am anxious to hear from the next team on the docket here. We're going to go down to Arizona, and again, we are all doing it differently, and we all can learn from each other. So right on 10 o'clock on the dot, 20 minutes time used, We are going to turn it over to the Arizona team, and then we'll come to the Denver team, and then we'll move forward. So with that, over to you, Arizona. I hope it's a cooler day for you.
I guess it's coming up.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. It's actually just a wonderful 70 degrees here and rather chilly. It's early September.
Well, good morning. I'm Wanda Wright, and I am the director for the Arizona Department of Veteran Services. So I'm the state director for our Veteran Affairs. And so we've really worked across the state. Jim talked about collective impact. And we worked across the state with our partner, which this is Thomas Winkle from the Arizona Coalition for Military Families. And together we've kind of maximized, I would say, the collective impact work that the coalition has done in order to begin our CVEBs. And we call them military veteran community networks. And we have three, mainly because we have three hospitals, VA hospitals in our state, and so it's kind of broken down by region. We have one in the south near Tucson, we have one central in Phoenix, and we have one northern in Prescott, and that is where we have established our groups. And so I just wanted to explain that a little bit because it is important that we use those groups to communicate programs that we have. One of our main programs is Be Connected, and because of the CVEBs, we've been able to integrate the program across the state. And so I'll hand it over to Thomas.
So that's great. So we're going to show a quick video here. Rudy, in just 1 second, I'll cue you, but this was a video that was produced. We had about 36 hours to produce this. But this was for a VA internal competition for the National Partnership Challenge, and which was to demonstrate best practices on how VAs are collaborating with the community in order to get some really unique and good things done. So, Rudy, take it away.
The Phoenix VA Healthcare System and the Arizona Coalition for Military Families have partnered since 2009. And are now working together to help Arizona's service members, veterans, and their families to be connected.
These men and women have raised their hand and have done something bigger than themselves, and something that most Americans won't do, and that's step up and defend this country.
We take care of people that have already made an incredible service and sacrifice on behalf of our nation.
There are a lot of people out there that are willing to give back to these veterans and military families time, resources, and want to show their love and support of them.
Our military and veteran community need the support now more than ever. The risk of suicide is 3 times higher among Arizona veterans and 4 times higher for older Arizona veterans compared to the general population.
When we look at the statistics, it tells us a lot. So of the 20 completed suicides every day, only 6 of the 20 are receiving care within VA. So we have a long way to go. And if 14 of our veterans are not receiving care within a VA, I think that just shows again how important this Be Connected initiative is. Not only to reach out to our veterans to identify who they are, where they are, but to reach out to their family members, the community at large, and really utilize all of the resources available to us.
It surprises me sometimes when people tell me, well, veterans don't necessarily know about all the resources. And so we have to reach out to them and bring them to us so that we can get them all the benefits that they deserve. Because they deserve them. They served. Some of them sacrificed.
This is why the Be Connected program was created. We are focused on reducing deaths by suicide through earlier and more effective intervention and connecting people and families to the right resources at the right time.
So in a lot of ways, we've described Be Connected as a suicide program that's not called a suicide program. And I think that's really important because there's so much stigma associated with seeking mental health care, so much stigma associated with suicide.
Be Connected has 3 components that people and organizations can access. Call. Help and support is available to everyone 24/7. Match. Specialized tools identify resources that match each person or family's situation. Learn. Information to equip yourself to be an open door is just a click away.
If we come across an individual that we feel like needs help and we're trained on the tools to Be Connected, we'll know where to turn to help that individual. But the same thing as those veterans organizations that we support, they're in, say, rural Kingman or Flagstaff or Holbrook, those VFWs and American Legions, when they come across those individuals, they'll be prepared to help. And the individuals themselves, if I'm having this issue, Be Connected could help me. I know how to access Be Connected to get help.
Be Connected is a community-wide partnership that builds on our existing capacity and adds a new layer of coordination and collaboration through the public and private sector partners of the Arizona Coalition for Military Families. Be Connected is making a difference in the lives of Arizona's service members, veterans, and their families. In the first year, there was a significant increase in call volume to the Be Connected support line. We now have more than 3,500 military veteran resource navigators statewide and have trained and equipped tens of thousands of people to help.
Whether you need it or not, whether you need it today or not, but knowing that the resource is there, that you're not alone, going through whatever life throws at you, having Be Connected there.
And I think really Be Connected takes us to a whole nother level.
We have discovered that Arizona, through Be Connected, has a great template to take, I think, on a national level to really tackle suicide prevention in a much more proactive way. The depth that they have done this in the last 5 years is something that we can take back and to blend into a national movement over the next 5 years. I truly believe that.
So I just wanted, we were talking about best practices before Thomas talks a little bit about the Be Connected program. What I think is significant for our CVEBs is that as the director, I took a really great interest in us doing this, and I think it's super important that the state directors have access and are proponents of the CVEBs. And I also think that what really helps move us is our collaborative nature with our nonprofit, the Coalition for Military Families, in that, like you said, it's difficult when you have only volunteers. It's a little harder to move things faster. It's a little harder to actually make the connections. And so having help in that moves things a lot faster. And so you saw sort of how polished and lovely that video looked. When you have someone helping you with stuff like that, it really makes a huge difference in how fast we move. And because of that, I think the VA really was wanting and able to jump into the fray a little bit faster. You know, as many of you know, it's really sometimes difficult to create that bridge with the VA because they're a little bit more siloed than, you know, some agencies. But they helped us make that bridge, and now we're a very, very big collaborative effort. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so I'll pass it over to Thomas to kind of talk to you about Be Connected as a statewide program to support all of this.
Hi, so is it possible to pull up the first slide? And I'll kind of advance through those fairly quickly.
Yes, just give me a moment, Thomas.
Wonderful, no worries. And so part of the, just to give you a couple of things about the video, it normally doesn't stagger like that. It's normally nice and flowy, so you can check that out on our website as well, if you'd like to. And then the voiceover for that was actually my wife, Nicola. And so it's just one of my favorite videos, because then I get to hear her voice even when I'm, you know, plugging away at work. So it's Good. So, one of the things, okay, great, wonderful. So you can actually go to the slide two, if you would. I'll probably pop through these fairly quick. So I think one of the things I'll just throw out in the very beginning of this is that this is a really upstream model. We had based this on some really good success we had with the Arizona National Guard between 2010, or starting in 2010 and the years before that. The suicide rate for the Arizona National Guard, as it was with all across the country, for Guard units and reserve and active duty and even veterans, was rising, and it had been at its highest level ever. So the Adjutant General for the state asked us to be able to rework a program. We actually called that one Be Resilient, and we were able to take the suicide rate from its highest ever to 0 for over 36 months. And essentially what happened with this process is we just developed it for a statewide approach to be able to support all service members, veterans, and their families, keeping in mind that only about a third of our veterans within the state receive services through the VA, so we want to make sure everyone was being taken care of. So part of what we did is we did a very inclusive call line that is attached to our state's 211 and our crisis response system across the state, and we focused on not just the veterans, but their families and the folks that are supporting them, and HR, and you name it, faith-based organizations, you name it, because we're embedded with all of those different entities across the state. So here's some reasons that a community member might want to call to connect to a crisis specialist right away, to be able to troubleshoot barriers and accessing cares. We get a fair amount of those. Hey, I'm having trouble with benefits. Well, we know the right folks to be able to get them plugged in with, and that's really important and very helpful for folks. You can see some of the other reasons there that you've got. Let me talk a little bit about the program, and maybe I can flip over to the next slide. Slide on over to the next slide.
Sure.
There will be a slight time delay.
There is a slight lag.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I believe the next slide is match. And so I'll just talk a little bit about that. One of the important things that we always hear about is that it's very difficult for people to find the right resources at the right time. That's been our moniker since 2008 when the coalition was started. That was one of our kind of taskings, one of our goals that we had as part of the statewide plan. And so we've developed an online tool, resourcecommand.org, and what we have in there, that's a way of matching folks to very specific resources that we as an organization have vetted in a vetting process that was created through focus groups and involvement of key leadership and surveys and a variety of other different things to be able to make it so that we're connecting them with the right resource. How frustrating is it to try to plug someone in, and when it may work on a small scale, hey, I know so-and-so and so-and-so over here at Economic Security or, the homeless organization in the area. But when you try to scale that and make that statewide or nationwide, that becomes a really difficult thing. So we developed a tool to be able to do that. Tools are absolutely worthless unless you got folks operating them. So we did a whole process for the past probably about 6-7 years of training resource navigators across the state. These people come from all different walks of life and are embedded in every part of, you name a subject, we've got them in there, from legal system to justice, education, all the schools around the state, you name it, we've got them in there. And they make a really powerful force that you've got a buddy or at least someone looking out for you, because we wanted to try to replicate what occurs within the military itself when you're serving, and that is you've always got someone looking out for you. So I think we're fastly approaching 4,000 navigators. Next slide, please. In the interest of time, I'll just start chatting about that as well. So the final thing that we incorporated into this Be Connected program, call, match, and now I'll talk about learn. And the learning process is we really wanted to have very good education. I talked a little bit about if you look in person, we've got resource navigation, I just spoke about that. But we've also got assist programming, that's applied suicide intervention support training. That's, first class, kind of suicide intervention training, if you will. Peer support training, that is at least in part funded by the Arizona Department of Veterans Services through a grant that was pushed out, and then we pushed that out to veterans groups and things like that, so that we've got people that are very well qualified around the state. We also do lots of military culture training. I think we've trained over 36,000 individuals across the state from all walks of life, once again, to make sure that they, not just, rank and that type of stuff is very mildly important, but really it's about the culture. We introduce videos that show, scenes from conflicts, and we process those, and we help people get a kind of a flavor of what it's like to actually be on deployment, or what it's like to be away from home, or what military culture truly is. And then we do a variety of different things like employer training. We have a whole Arizona Veterans Supportive Employer Program, which we have now, I think, about 150 employers that we can direct veterans to, that have veteran affinity groups, and they have navigators within their HR and within their supervision, their supervisors and coordinators and whatnot within their managers and whatnot. And so we've got this kind of very robust plan so that we're taking care of veterans wherever they happen to be. And then the final thing on this slide is talking about online. There are a ton of great courses out there. Psych Armor, if you're not familiar with them, they've got a great working relationship now with the VA and with Tri-West or Choice, which is in all of our regions. You can see some of the courses that we've developed with them, and that Tri-West have developed and VA have developed with them, and that live on the Psych Armor platform. So that's another way that we utilize to be able to help folks be able to connect with important information. Let's see. So, I think the final thing I'll say is that, we started off with 5 calls in our first month, our first month of launch, and we are now over 600. 640 was last month, and that just keeps rising. The past couple of months, it just keeps rising by 100, and so we're very excited about the potential possibilities, and this is in collaboration with the VA crisis line, so it doesn't take away from that, and actually works with. So we're encouraged by that as well. And so that's the Be Connected program. If you have additional questions, the final slide just gives an email address that you can reach and find out more about what we have.
Questions?
So so primarily the funding, grant funding then, is that what I heard for the Be Connected?
Yes, we've done it through a variety of different ways. We've had in-kind donations from various organizations. The call center line originally started off, and I just said, we're going to need this to be at no cost to us, and they said yes. We found some funding, so the Arizona Department of Veterans Services and the Arizona Coalition for Military Families, which is funded through a variety of different things, helped to direct some funding. But what I'll tell you is that the normal cost for these types of things is extraordinary. You're talking, $5 million, things like that. We were able to do it in Arizona. Total, we have not spent over $1 million, even up to this point. It's been in operation for over
a year and a half.
Yeah,
18 months. About.
So it's a lot of money, but it's not that those massive figures that you often see if you're doing it in a precise way.
What happens with the funding?
Outstanding, Thomas and Wanda. Truly. Do you have any additional questions? If not, we are going to call on our friends in Denver. I believe we have Kate Hatton standing by, the CVEB co-chair, the My VA Pikes Peak. Kate, are you there?
Can you hear us in Denver?
Yes.
Okay, I think we're good now.
Okay, sorry. It's always technical difficulties. You can hear me now, okay?
Yes.
Okay. I do have a couple slides, and I'll just give you a little background. Hopefully we can get those running. If not, I'll just talk through them. The MyVA Pikes Peak Community Engagement Board started in 2015. We're actually in Colorado Springs, so thanks for doing this in summer when the traveling up to Denver isn't so bad. But to give you a little bit of background, we had some community collaboration infrastructure already in place, which probably started about 10 years ago. But in 2012, my organization, the Peak Military Care Network, officially stood up that was really aimed at as a collaboration, trying to align military installations, and we have 5 military installations in Colorado Springs, the VA, and community organizations. We have a tremendous amount of nonprofits and community support organizations, and the goal was really to get everybody working together. So in October of 2015 is when the MyVA Pikes Peak Charter was established, and our goal is really to, ultimately it's about improving outcomes, health and well-being for veterans and families, and really communication among and between VA and the community, and really integrating the VA into the existing collaborative infrastructure. So trying to talk about some of the things that we've done in best practices. Obviously, we've been, like I said, we've been working together for quite a while, but we really wanted to do that sort of a listening session, that information. Someone else had mentioned that. We did a town hall in December of 2015 to hear from veterans about what their needs and concerns were, and then we were able to, again, partner with the VA on that, problem solve for people who had individual issues. Hey, there we go. And then I'm on the third slide, actually, if that's okay. Trying to highlight some of the programming that we've done. Again, and from one of the things that we heard from that December 2015 town hall was the challenges that veterans had and providers had around the CHOICE program at the time. So we have since then held 2 forums, particularly for providers, to understand the CHOICE program, the changes in the CHOICE program, and what's coming down the pike in terms of the community care network. And so that's really been an opportunity to open lines of communication and share good information and be able to connect providers, veterans, and community to the right resources and the right information, and to make sure that good information is shared so that people aren't confused and frustrated. So those 2 kind of agendas are sort of some of the initial things that we have done. The picture shows my co-chair, Bob McLaughlin, with the Mountain Carmel Veterans Center. We were on a panel that was actually run by our local newspaper. Interestingly, it was about veterans' health, and the VA wasn't invited to that meeting. So because we were well connected to VA through the MyVA Pikes Peak Community Engagement Board, we were able to explain what was going on and how the VA was partnering with the community. So really, again, it was about sharing good information with, if people were frustrated, well, here's how you connect. Again, the goal being that whether it's a military or a VA or a community resource, again, and we've heard this before, getting people connected to the right resources the first time so they don't get frustrated. Next slide, please. I really call these, if you'll see the heading of the slides, it's really kind of the 4 C's. It's around communication, convening, collaboration, and collective impact. I think things you've all heard before. So the other thing that we do is really, again, convene providers. One of the challenges is that there are a lot of organizations and a lot of folks trying to help, and a lot of them were talking together 10 years ago. So when someone went into one door looking for employment, they could help with employment but couldn't necessarily help with behavioral health or child care or education or whatever the other needs were. So the goal was to really inform everybody and increase the tools in the toolbox for different providers so that if it wasn't their area of expertise, they knew how to connect that person to that other resource. So kind of what you're seeing on the slides were something that was really a VA program, the community or the community clergy training program, and we just helped convene that, bring folks together, bring clergy together. And I want to give a shout out to David Francavilla because he's our Veterans Experience Officer in this region, and he really did a lot of work on this and others. Again, really it's about that issue of only 6 veterans connected to VA. How do community clergy know how to connect to VA, as well as community resources. So that was a really successful event that was held this past June. The other picture shows we did kind of a speed networking with a lot of providers through our monthly partner agencies, really trying to make sure, again, that organizations know what others do. And so we had VA, military installations, and community partners all in the room at the same time learning from each other, so that it was, oh, I didn't know you did that. I had somebody in my office last week who was looking for that. Now I know how to connect them. And the goal there is obviously to break down those silos so that there is more coordination and less confusion. Next slide, please. Beyond just convening, we really want to focus on collaboration. Again, the VA does a lot of great work, community does a lot of great work, and as it was said in the beginning, no one entity can do it all. So how do we work together? So a couple of those pictures on the left are the recent, last week maybe, VA Community Mental Health Summit. That was planned, coordinated, and executed in partnership with VA and community partners. So really about not just VA providers learning about community learning about VA. It was really a very collaborative effort to make sure that really addressing suicide prevention and alternative therapies, anything that will help connect veterans to community and connect them to the resources and make sure that families are supported as well. The other thing that we do, and I don't know if this is unique to our VA or if others do this as well, but we work with our local CBOC, the Lindstrom Clinic, to bring community resources into that clinic on a monthly basis so that veterans and families attending, going to their appointments can learn about resources that the VA doesn't provide. Maybe they've got children with special needs that need to get connected to services. Maybe they, again, are looking for employment or a recreation program or whatever it might be, and so there's a partnership. So VA staff and veterans and families getting information on a monthly basis about services that the VA, isn't tasked to provide. It's not within their wheelhouse. And then also the community partners learn about what the VA does provide. And going to their, I think they have at least weekly, what does this clinic provide information, so that, again, there's good information so that we can send people, again, to the right resources. So those are some of the specific examples of the collaborative work that we're doing. And the last slide I have about is really that collective impact piece. Again, no one entity can do it alone, but collectively we can do a lot. This is specific to kind of the Peak Military Care Network and that network of providers. We actually have 44 partner agencies now, and those just are the community partners, but those 41 partner agencies provided 104,000 services. We have more than almost 100,000 veterans in El Paso County in the Pikes Peak region, and multiple partners providing a variety of range of services, whether it's financial assistance, employment, education, legal assistance, again, just connecting and helping navigate those services, and really trying to figure out, we also, again, provide a lot of talk about military and veteran culture. We provide trainings on a monthly basis to make sure community providers understand military and veteran culture, and not just understand the culture, but again, going back to how to connect to those services. And those who, just to kind of, we evaluate whether that's valuable, and 97% of those said it will help them do their jobs. We got to get to those 3% to make sure we're covering all of them, but that's really a very quick overview of kind of that collaborative effort and how the VA and the community work. I think we have a very great partnership with the VA. I'm sitting next to Renee Murphy at VBA here in Denver. VBA, VHA, and NCA are all actively engaged in the My VA Pikes Peak Community Engagement Board. I think we're all working together. We know how to pick up the phone and call each other if either of us has an issue, and I think that that's huge. Those personal relationships are a big part of what we do. So I'll stop there and see if there are any questions. I know I talked too fast, so.
Your pace was perfect, Kate.
All right. So we do have a couple of, at least one other person here, and I don't know if Suzanne is on the phone, but I wanted to also introduce Dennis Orr, who can talk about the United Veterans Committee and the work that the UVC does.
You're good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm Dennis Orr. I'm the first Vice President of the United Veterans Committee of Colorado. We are the first recipient in the United States of the VA's Veteran Friendly Award. So we're very proud of that. It was awarded to us at our banquet last April. We are the only organization, we represent all veterans organizations in the state, primarily in front of the legislature. We are the ones that have been very successful, over about an 85% success rate at the legislature, and providing necessary legal resources for veterans. For example, we just passed one that allows the veterans to take off some of their retirement pay so they don't have to pay state tax on it. And that will be gradually going up over the years. We are a very strong partner with the VA, and at our monthly meetings, the VA is a member there and keeps us up to date on what is going on. If they have any questions that they need or help with the veterans community, we are there to help provide that. We are the ones who are responsible for the construction of the new Rocky Mountain Regional VA Medical Center in Colorado after it got stalled with all the problems it had. So it's finally open now. We're very proud of that. And we have the auditorium was named after the UBC in our honor of the work that we have done. We're working with David Francavilla, who's done a great job in working with us at the VA, and we bring in he's helping us, he wants us to help him with vet talks, so we've been able to help him with that, to start telling the people out there that veterans are not all either heroes or crazy. So we're working with that. We work closely with Renee and her people, and if they have questions or problems, we're there to help them out. So what we do is we're very proud of that. We're also working very closely on getting veterans courts established throughout the state and helping and training in that area through our legislative committee. I'm open for questions if you have any, but we are the only statewide resource in the state. Kate is a proud member of ours, and this is a place where veteran organizations can come and talk to each other and share problems and solutions. So we feel that we're somewhat unique in that regard. Open for questions. I probably talked too fast, too.
No, again, great pace, Dennis. Thanks so much. Do we have any questions for Kate or Dennis?
Dennis, this is, and Kate, this is Jim Morski. The one thing I could highlight to you is the successes that you've done and the strong capability that you have in Colorado is that those who are seeking to emulate you, which is always the best form of flattery, that you kindly support them and assist them in your successes, development, and all, and mentor along with that.
We'd be delighted to do that.
Absolutely,
and we steal ideas from others too.
And it will be our pleasure as the VA and the VEOC to connect the dots and facilitate the connections. But you all who are experiencing it more than the VA on the ground. But it's our job to make sure that people are talking to each other, and it sounds like you all are doing a great job at it. So I appreciate you working with all of us and sharing your experiences. Thank you.
Great, thank you, and we're happy to work with anybody to help veterans.
Hi, this is Andy Martinez. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Yes, Andy, loud and clear.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make a comment about, our veteran-friendly communities appreciation work that we've been doing. And, it's been a real privilege to see our team travel around and show the gratitude and help build momentum with communities that have been doing this great work. And yes, at Denver, you guys, we did go over there in the beginning. But I want to make sure everyone on the call knows that, we're not about, comparing and contrasting and seeing what community is doing better than another. We're really about, we want to be everywhere. And because we are a small team and we can't, we're going everywhere we can as quickly as we can to build that momentum. So we don't want to create an environment that's of competition, but of, collaborative work and understanding. And, we're going to try to get to everyone over time as we can to help continue bolstering that momentum. And I think when we first went to Denver, that was a really good example of how it can be done. And it was a great event. So thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Andy. And this is Jim, just augmenting my PM's conversation. The real emphasis on these appreciation awards is the VA government
saying thank you. Thank you to the leadership and the grassroots efforts who's come up, because we can't think of many ways of really showing our appreciation other than coming to your community and saying, you guys are doing a great job. And we are so honored to be part of your table. So that appreciation comes really to look at Denver or Colorado and all these great people who are doing it. And as we go around, we want to make sure that we don't lose the point of us just saying thank you. And keep up the good work. I appreciate that.
Heartfelt and well said, Jim, and thank you, Andy. Before we move to Miss Nina Ridgway in Las Vegas, I wanted to catch up with a couple of questions. First for Kirby Ryder. Thank you, Kirby. Yes, we will get you the web link to the Be Connected video that Thomas and Wanda Zan highlighted. Absolutely. And then a question for Arizona. A comment here. It says, I appreciate and agree with the comments made earlier by the Arizona VA director that engagement by state VA directors with the CVEBs is important.
I'd like to talk to that.
Does she have any advice or Director Wright, do you have any advice or recommendations for VEO staff who are trying to gain support and buy-in by state directors?
Yes. Yes, I'd like to talk to that a little bit. State directors have a lot of fingers in a lot of pots, but I felt it's very, very important for me to be part of the process if the VA's mandate was that their directors and VARO directors and cemetery directors were supposed to attend. That was sort of the original mandate of the CVEBs. And so if they had to be there, I felt like I had to be there. Because we have in our state anyway, we have an excellent relationship between the director of the state and the directors for the 3 medical centers and the VARO. And so what it becomes again is about relationships. So if the boards, who in this case, and sometimes, they're volunteers and not necessarily a director, a chairman, that helps a lot when the director's a chairman. But if they aren't, I feel like it might be really important to schedule a meeting with the state director and sit with them and really explain your purpose and why it is important for them to be engaged. And I felt like, as well, that CVEBs needed financial support. That, it was going to be difficult for us to try to have a multitude of these meetings and committees having it across the state without some support to have good co-chairs, without some support to maybe feed people, a little bit of coffee and nosh in the morning. People come for food, right? And so I think it's super important that they be there. So you really maybe have to twist a couple little arms, and it will help if you have the VA representative with you to say the VA has skin in this game. Why doesn't the state VA director? Mm-hmm. And so that would be my advice.
I'll just pitch in from the community aspect. It's essentially, it's critical that their state director or state secretary is involved with your CVEB from my standpoint, and that it's part of a 3-legged stool, if you will. You got the community, you got the state, and then you got the federal or the VA. And between those 3 communities, you can pretty much get most anything done that you need to get done.
Thank you, ma'am. This is Jim Wojcicki just commenting on that too. When we first launched our effort with the VEO team back in 2015, the goal was 100 CVEBs. Yep. And I remember it was a requirement and actually was a performance standard.
Yes.
For the medical center. You all remember that when VA was saying, and now Secretary was saying, you will be there. Honestly, it was a logistical challenge as it kept on growing, and I remember the numbers going to 132. And that was getting a little tight for these people to be making it at the director level. Now we're getting up even higher and higher, and people, even at yesterday's panel that I sat on, one individual went to me and said, so I understand that the VA is capping these CVEBs at 200. Where the heck did that come from? And that's not true. It's not true. I strike that verbiage. Like my old saying from Buzz Lightyear to infinity and beyond, if there is a need and the the community comes together, we'll support it. But you can see that if we're getting to infinity and beyond, to have a director of a medical center and all them present at these meetings is challenging. So what I've asked, and I think the administration has agreed, that if a director can't be there, and of course they're most welcome and we want that participation there, but that we definitely have a representative, a deputy, someone there to be part of that community from VHA, VBA, NCA. To the best of us, as we are drawing ourselves, as the numbers are getting higher, the denominator is increasing, that we might not be able to get that director all the time. Or maybe that director's gonna wanna take vacation, which at this point, I'm still authorized, as we can laugh about. But the point is that we definitely want to have representation, so I don't want the directors from the VA to think that it's a mandatory performance level, although it would look nice on your performance plan, but that we have some type of representative there. And I'm
right, and Jim, you and I have actually really talked about this at great lengths at some of our other director meetings, and we totally agree, but that is one reason why we decided to just stick with 3 major committees so that they could show up. Because it becomes very difficult to make decisions without the decision maker.
Yes. I'll acknowledge that, and we have had these conversations.
So we elected to keep them at a certain number so that they could show up. And it's just, again, another sort of best practice that, I get it, if you have 12 CVEBs in your state, the directors can't show up to all of those. But we elected to only have 3, and each of those 3 meet 4 times a year. So the director only has to be there 4 times. And one of them is at one of our summits, so that makes it a little bit more enjoyable for them to attend. And so we as a state, decided those parameters in order to make sure that the VA leadership was available. And so that's all. I can understand, some of those states have a lot of them.
Yeah, I know, but your point is very well taken. It's a very good best lessons from a state, and I acknowledge that very much. And what I'm very proud to say is I know that your relationship with my deputy who lives in Arizona is very strong, supporting the CVEB. So at least certainly from the VEO perspective, I feel very confident with us doing it. But getting the agencies involved, and from Arizona's point, you're doing very well, or everyone's doing very well, and the directors are involved. So it seems to be working out very well, which is once again a great practice. As I see Dr. Fisher loading down notes on it. Very good. Thank you, ma'am.
I have a poor memory. This is just so I remember what to say.
Again, outstanding. I'm just breathing the rarefied air of wisdom and knowledge. Thank you all so much. I did want to make a real quick comment. You know, we commonly hear, I've probably lost track of the number. You hear there's 375,000, 377,000, 378,000 VA employees. But oftentimes I think people don't necessarily recognize that the state departments of Veterans Affairs, I think, are comprised of more than 100,000 employees across the 50 states. That is lots of resources, I think, that we all too often may overlook. But wow, thanks again so much to Thomas and to Wanda. Really, really great stuff. And now, I would like to ask Nina Ridgway in Las Vegas, are you with us? It may take a minute to get off mute. And if not, is Ron Starks from San Diego with us today? Let's see. We'll try again. Megan, are you on?
Hi, Bob. This is Megan. I'm here.
Hi, Megan. Tony, do you have Megan's slide?
I do. Stand by just a moment.
Okay. Megan is the chief of the Veteran Friendly Communities Division of the Community Engagement Directorate of the Veterans Experience Office, and Megan has got a really interesting presentation that I think we're all gonna benefit from on the VAC. And I'll allow Megan to explain that.
Sure, great. Thank you, Bob. And I apologize to everyone. I've kind of got a terrible voice right now, so you're going to have to listen to me squeak through this. So I'm sorry. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Veterans Experience Action Center. It is an event that takes place in Northeast Ohio with, in collaboration with the Northeast Ohio Veterans Community Task Force, which is the CVEB in Northeast Ohio. This event, I'll talk a little bit, I just have 3 quick slides, but this event is kind of unique, and I just wanted to share a little bit of information about it because we truly think it is a best practice among CVEBs. And since even though I work for a Veterans Experience Office, I happen to be based out of Cleveland, Ohio, and I have the lovely opportunity to be really involved with this event every year, as that CVEB is part of my area of coverage. I have to give credit to some other folks who actually dreamed up this idea. It is based on an American Legion program called the Veterans Benefits Action Center that was created in 2014 and ran from 2014 to 2016 in North Carolina. So a gentleman named Cajun Como, who is one of our colleagues now at VA, was previously with the American Legion. And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, working for one of the hospitals down in Durham, North Carolina, when this event came my way. And so it's kind of shaped and molded and changed a little bit as it's grown with VA. When Cajun came to VA, he started shaping it a little bit differently, and it ended up with the name, the Veterans Experience Action Center. So what you can see is I kind of want to talk a little bit about what it is and what makes this event a little bit different. So one of the main things is many of us have heard about claims clinics or benefits claims clinics. And those are something that are pretty common across the country. Usually the benefits office, the regional office is involved in that. And I kind of explained this the other day as being almost a benefits claims clinic on steroids. So really this is a 2.5-day event for us. It can be a little bit different for everyone depending on what works best for your community. And it's in collaboration with the Veterans Experience Office, the hospital, the benefits side, the cemetery, the vet center, our county partners, our community partners, the state if they're available. And a lot of our community partners in Northeast Ohio ended up being places like Red Cross, United Way 211, and many more that are a part of our board. So during the event, one of the things that's super unique is that veterans and families have one-on-one participation and collaboration and work right there and access to on-site benefits claims, appeals, healthcare enrollment, wellness exams, mental health counseling. So when I say that it's kind of a benefits claims clinic on steroids, I mean that it's not just generalists who are coming in and taking your intensive file or taking down a 526 claim or taking a claim. It is actually around 50 employees from the regional office coming out, and that includes veteran service representatives who develop the claims, raters who rate the claims, people from the appeals side, decision review officers who conduct hearings and talk directly with veterans who have questions about their appeals. So that's kind of one of the unique things about it. On the healthcare side, a lot of veterans will come to events and get enrolled in VA healthcare, but in order to close out that enrollment, you have to come back to the VA and have an exam. And one of the unique things that we do is we bring the practitioners to the event. So once you enroll in VA healthcare through the form, you can go over and actually have the enrollment exam. Sometimes they used to be called vesting exams, but now they're kind of called enrollment exams, and you're automatically in the VA system. I'm going to take a pause and take a drink really quickly. All right, hopefully that'll help a little bit. So that's kind of one of the unique same-day, face-to-face services that we really offer. And as we partner with the county, we do county ID cards and other local, state, and federal community resources. We really look, you can see that last bullet on this page, is to get to yes. And I heard somebody else mention, as we were hearing about all these great best practices, that they really look for an event where if it's something the VA doesn't provide, let's pull those resources together and get that for the veteran, whether it's something for children, a caregiver, a widow, surviving spouse. We want to make sure that we're encompassing all of the things that are available to our veterans. And so that is really what this event is for. We want to get to yes. If a veteran needs something, we want to be able to find that for them. So Tony, if you could go to the next slide, or Bob. Okay, so this is why we love this event so much. So we do 2.5 days of folks coming through, and these are some of the numbers that we had from this year's event. So we had 934 total veterans who registered for services. And that's not necessarily counting family members or people who came with the veteran. But if you are a family member that wants to come through and chat, we register you and you can get services as well. So that's a huge number for us. We almost doubled our number from last year, so it's a fantastic event. We had 833 total veterans come through VBA, which is our benefits side. We filed 155 original claims, 114 supplemental claims, and 74 intensive file forms, which is a huge turnout for a benefits office. And there were also 310 other general benefits that were discussed. You can see the numbers for VHA, 260 total enrollments, with 52 total exams done that day. So that means of the veterans who enrolled in healthcare, 52 of them were ready to go, had their exams good to go. And then one of our favorite numbers is actually the NCA numbers. They had 517 total visits to their mobile unit, and 85% of those veterans didn't realize that they had an idea, they didn't know what their NCA benefits were. So that's a really, really big number for NCA. If you look at our community partners, the Veterans Service Center, which is our local county office, the Veterans Service Commission, they had 273 folks come through for ID cards. So that's a really exciting moment for a lot of the veterans who are coming through who maybe don't have a driver's license, don't have access to an ID, and are able to come through and obtain that ID card. And then, like I said, we work really closely with many of our community partners, and one of the coolest ones was with United Way, with 53 total contacts, which probably resulted in about 153 referrals. And our United Way office, who does United Way 211, has a specific veterans group, and their head of that department is a part of the board in Ohio. And so we really, really appreciate working with them and all of the information they're able to provide. During this event, some of that includes lift rides to and from the event for veterans who weren't able to take a bus or a taxi. We were able to offer free lift rides to and from the event. So that was a really awesome opportunity as well. Okay, you can go to the next slide. And this is just, again, some photos of folks working at the events and attending the events. And I have my contact information up there. We're currently working with the Quad Cities CVEB in Illinois and Iowa to help them set up an event similar to this. We had folks come in and participate in ours this year so we could share the love and pay it forward, because we did those similar things with North Carolina. And so if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to go into more detail, and hopefully at a time where my voice doesn't sound like this and you guys don't have to listen to me squeak. But thank you so much for the opportunity to share a little bit about this event. And like I said, any questions at all, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to share information.
Well, Megan, thank you so much. You know, your gritty performance under extreme duress brings to mind Willis Reed leading the New York Knicks to the NBA championship when he couldn't even walk. Or Kurt Schilling in the World Series with the bloody sock.
Thank you for those comparisons.
Great stuff.
Megan, thank you. This is Jim. I'm getting a dirty look from Dr. Fisher, who's saying that I'm working my people too hard. And I certainly appreciate it all. And they're telling me that I should give you a couple hours off to allow you to recoup your voice, and I think I'm gonna be generous and let you take the weekend off this time.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that.
Thank you. You really are a trooper for what you're doing and stick and doing this, and I certainly appreciate all the great work that you do for VE and my team or our team. So appreciate it, and it's a very good opportunity for people to see how the VA is partnering with communities and doing great events like this. Great lessons learned, practice being shared, so thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Megan.
Indeed, we've got a question regarding services to veterans, rural veterans living in rural Colorado in particular. Basically, the question is: is there an example of a best practice for a rural location? We have very different needs and challenges for veterans living in rural Colorado. And perhaps Dennis or Kate, for example, may want to address that.
Sorry, just got unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So that's a really good question. There is a challenge of, I would say that in Colorado Springs we have an abundance of resources and help. Rural communities have a harder challenge in terms of, I would still say step one is to convene, get everybody at the table who is there, to know who is there and who is working together, so that people know how to connect, and build those relationships with whatever your local VA resource is, whether it's a community clinic or a vet center or however closely connected you are to the VA is critical. And finding those businesses, community service providers, local government entities that can all work together to help, and knowing who's doing what is, I think, a good first step.
One of the problems we have in Colorado is that although we have over 450,000 veterans in the state, there are a lot of veterans who've never signed up with the VA, so we don't even know that they're out there. And so one of the things that we try to do is through our forum is to try to get as many veterans as we can into the VA so that we have an accurate count of the veterans in the state, and then can make sure that we can introduce them to find out what their needs are and get them taken care of working with our partners in the VA.
And I would say look at unlikely suspects. There are probably postal workers who are in communities who know what's going on with folks that they deliver mail to. I mean, that may sound weird, but they might have a finger on the pulse in a community better than you might think. So I think there are a lot of folks out there who are working in communities, and again, organizations that may not necessarily be veteran specific, a local area agency on aging, for example, or other communities that are serving veterans, and making sure that you're asking them, are you serving veterans? Because they may not realize it too.
This is Wanda Wright. I would like to add just a couple of things to that. As we work through this Be Connected program, I've actually sat down with the Libraries Association, because a lot of homeless veterans do their web work or internet work at the library. And we've also met with the liquor and restaurant associations and asked them to put up little brochures in their restaurants, and we give our Be Connected card to all the bartenders. And you know, they can really tell right away when there's a veteran sitting in front of them, and they can, if they, you know, in a casual conversation, they can bring up things like, hey, have you engaged with the VA? Or do you know that you have a state veteran services that can help you? And so we try to get them at any point that they might engage. Thank you.
Wanda, that's a great suggestion. That's definitely thinking outside the box. Thank you very much for that outside normal thinking. Those are the great types of lessons learned. There's veterans walking all over, and a lot of them are needing help, and they're not getting it. I'm going to give a perfect example of one that I came across too. 18 years left the service. He left the service with a diabetic condition. Never claimed anything with the VA, never at all. And at this point, 18 years later, where he's been paying for all his medication, his insulin and all, where he's earned these rights and these benefits that we're trying to now get him into the system so we can take care of him for the issues that he never was on active duty. And he is a retired military person, so we're working on all those.
Again, excellent. Really appreciate the considerable insight, born of experience. Thank you all so very much. I wanted to ask if, Richard Norris, you had a pretty lengthy question. Are you able to unmute your line and pose your question? I can unmute it for him. Go ahead, Richard.
Well, I'm trying.
No, we got you, Richard. We hear you loud and clear now.
Oh.
Oh, I'm tired of this.
Or maybe I can actually read Richard's question and maybe somebody, I'm thinking maybe Loma Linda might be able to help. Maybe Walt, Director Walt, I saw you're on the line. I don't know if you can address this as well, but I'll read this out. What vehicles can be used? I think the meaning may be what methods, but it says what vehicles may be used to reach out to veterans. In North Los Angeles and Kern County, we have over 80,000 veterans, yet we only service 6,000 from VA West Los Angeles. We have unveiled only a second program in U.S. to service vets with urgent care services when vets cannot be seen at a C-box that day. Vets are sometimes unaware if they are enrolled in the VA system, and they can get referrals to up to multiple urgent cares in 2 counties in that same day. This way, they do not have to go to the hospital ER for less serious conditions. VA does not want to release information to contact, even though there is no HIPAA violations. And then Richard added a comment that this would offer significant cost savings to VA to not pay emergency room services to vets. And again, Walt, I know you're, I believe, in Palo Alto, but we did have somebody from Loma Linda as well. And if we can't capture that or address that now, Richard, I'll capture your concern and get it to the right people.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi. This is Rob Smith. I'm the Medical Center Director in San Diego, but I'm actually the Acting Network Director in Vision 22. And I thought I'd kind of chime in on that last question. And I should say that John Stryker-Meyer is here, who's the co-chair of our CVEB here in San Diego. And Ron Stark was going to try and be here, but is on, I think, attending the United Veterans Council, where he is co-chair. So you had mentioned his name earlier, but he may try and call in a little bit later. We were fumbling with our mute buttons before and not doing a good job.
Thank you, sir.
But that point about the veterans in Kern County and really kind of, and also the pilot that's going on up in Los Angeles County in Points North for urgent care is something that I think is worthy of comment on. There are 2 points. One is that I think we all have an obligation to really help reach out to veterans across the communities that we're engaged with and let them know about their benefits. And we know nationally that there's many veterans that aren't aware of the benefits that they've earned and that they are entitled to through the VA. I know Pat Prieb Rex Kern, thank you so much. I was thinking Kern County, not Rex. But anyway, Rex Kern, who's the director of the cemetery down here in San Diego, both spend a lot of time on outreach, and Rex in particular, I think, spends a lot of time trying to let veterans know that they've earned their spot, so to speak, in a national cemetery. And I know even my brother, who's a veteran, didn't think that he was entitled to burial in a national cemetery. So there's tons of opportunities for outreach, and I think that really, in fact, if there are only 6,000 veterans in the areas of Kern County that are using VA services, where there may be 10 times that number who are eligible, just kind of speaks to the need to reach out. And then the other point, which is urgent care, there's currently an active project trying to get veterans access to urgent care non-ER services through that area in Palmdale, Lancaster, areas of Bakersfield. It's still in its early stages of rolling out, but I think the good news is that the Mission Act actually has language in it that will make that a service that's available to veterans widely. And that, over the next year, is something that all VAs are going to be working to provide. It was actually written into the Mission Act that access to, call it walk-in urgent care services would be available. So I think we're all trying to understand how best to deliver that. In the areas that I'm familiar with, we have a pilot project, it's actually well beyond pilot, up in the Palo Alto area that uses Minute Clinic availability as an adjunct to VA services, and something along the same lines is going on currently in Phoenix. So there's a lot of efforts to make that happen, but it's still in the early phases. And I think I'll stop rambling now and let the floor go back to you guys.
Well, thank you so much, sir. Very much appreciate you weighing in with your expert level knowledge. Much appreciated.
This is Emmett O'Mara, the acting director in Los Angeles, VA Regional Office. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you don't mind, I just wanted to weigh in a little bit on some of what was said. Obviously, to piggyback, but also to give a little bit more unique, input from LA. Just I'm again with the VA Regional Office, and just since the beginning of this fiscal year, through the end of August, we actually have conducted over 100 outreach events, nearly 150 actually, and we've reached over 5,000 veterans in doing so. And we've done that through a lot of partnerships and collaborations with many different community partners, congressional constituencies, you name it, and certainly with VSOs. And also, and I don't want to speak for the medical center on this, but one of the big, I would say, achievements that has been a part of the CVEB has been the influence to get improved transit from the northern reaches to the West LA Medical Center, specifically Antelope Valley. As of August 20th, a new bus line opened up to take veterans from the Antelope Valley, which can be an all-day affair to get to and from the hospital. A bus line has been opened up to take veterans back and forth to their appointments, and they can do so without the headache and the anxiety and frankly the danger of traffic going to and from those appointments. So I just simply wanted to add that, and also let you know that somebody from LA is on this call. But if you have any questions, just let me know.
More great and very, very timely information. Thank you so much, sir. I was remiss. I wanted to check real quick if you're on with us today. Mr. Dave Whitmer in Roseburg, Oregon. Are you with us, Dave? Well, I'll just say that Dave is the director of the VA Roseburg Healthcare System, and he is really rocking the world there, to put it mildly. And he insists he's temporary, he's going back home to Tampa, St. Pete. But I keep telling him they're going to try to hold him down with chains. He can be dragging and kicking to get out of there.
Hey, Bob.
Yes.
Hey, Nina Ridgway had called in. They were having problems unmuting their line, so I think she's on the call if you want to have her present on Las Vegas.
Oh, very good. Nina, yes, please go ahead. Thank you, Eric.
So I'm guessing she's still having technological difficulties. You can move forward until she gets it resolved.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Eric. Maybe we'll have an opportunity date to hear from Nina. We certainly would like to hear from Nina. Part of my job is to man the egg timer here, and we're right on time. But before we go to our next our presentation, I'd like to turn it back over to Brian, who would like to add some closing words with regard to the panel.
I thank you. I appreciate it. I just appreciate hearing from everyone today. To my Arizona friends, that was an outstanding video. You're setting the bar high here. So talking to Dr. Fisher back here, I don't know what we're going to need to do to get there, but I appreciate you showing us what can be done. And Director Wright, please keep setting budget for food items. That'd be much appreciated. So very, very helpful out there. And I do echo your words on presence. I mean, for us, I think I'm very appreciative of all my colleagues here joining me in the room today and Pritz out there to support this effort going forward. But we're in it because we care about the mission and we care about serving veterans locally here. But obviously, having our local VA representatives care so much, it helps a lot. And if they weren't here, I don't know if we'd have as much energy as we do. So I did want to say that. And I think the final comments I have, just listening to Colorado, listening to Arizona, if we could record this and just show this to new communities as you go to infinity and beyond, is you can just see they're all different styles. Not one of our styles is different. We're certainly not serving the area that Colorado is or Arizona, but we're all doing it differently, and I think we're all making a difference in a small way. So I think it's a credit for VA, which isn't always seen to be someone that delegates very well, as this is an example where you have delegated down to the lowest levels and you've let communities do it how they think right. So I think that's a credit to you. And my final thought is, we lost another service member over in Afghanistan this week, and we all know that we're in active combat out there as a nation, and that's going to continue for a long time coming out there. But I think the American public and all the other distractions that are going on do forget that. But I'm part of the OIF and OEF generation, as is Chief Lopez and many others on my panel here, and we know that paying that price over the years as we all age is going to be a huge, huge price to bill. So getting it right now is only going to ensure that we're able to serve that huge vet population as they do age out there. So I just appreciate all of us being involved, and I'm not part of the VA, and I know you all take a lot of flack out there. So all those out there on this call who do wear the VA badge, for all of us who don't work the VA, thank you for filling Lincoln's promise. We think you're doing a great job, and we appreciate your care for veterans. So God bless America. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Brian. Just too many tough acts to follow here, but apt words and heartfelt, as you can plainly tell. Jim had mentioned that he was on the fly out of Atlanta from the America's Warrior Partnership, where Dr. Davis was also, and many other members from our team this week. But we got a couple of folks on deck who are trying to rush.
This is Nina.
Hi.
Hi, sorry about all the technical difficulties.
Oh, is this Nina?
Nina.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Nina.
I think I'm echoing too. Okay, here we go. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, it's like 2001 Space Odyssey. I'm always dating myself.
Yes.
Well, that sounded pretty cool, actually. Can you guys, is it too late?
No, go ahead, please.
Okay, so this is Nina, the one that's late, trying to get everything together. So we have the Southern Nevada Veteran Community Engagement Board, and I've been listening to everybody's ideas, and I took some notes. So believe me when I tell you that we're going to probably incorporate some of the things that you guys are doing within your communities that are beneficial to ours as well. We started our community, actually it was a community group in 2015, and it was just out of the necessity of knowing what service providers and services were available for those that served and their family members.
We have a veteran community, but we also have active duty, and we have the National Guard here. So it was kind of important to try to figure out what it was that we had as a community to provide to those individuals here, and to understand that we all kind of had our own wheelhouse and wanted to make sure that if, for example, I could not serve an individual at my organization, which is Goodwill Southern Nevada, then I would be able to reach out to some of the other organizations to make sure that we provide a continuum of care. So out of that, in 2016, the VA kind of approached us and let us know about the My VA program, and partnering with the VA and making sure that we're sharing those services with the VA and the folks that are using the VA, because of course we all know that the VA can't provide everything. So it was a natural partnership because a lot of the different organizations that we were all collaborating with anyway included the VA in some aspects, and so this was a way that we could all kind of bring it together. So what we did was we decided that we were going to work in a few key areas. So initially we started out with wellness or health and wellness, education, employment, and then overall transition for those that may be transitioning out of the military or may just be transitioning to a different stage in their life. And so what we did was we kind of took those on. We partnered with the VA in not only hosting events such as career fairs or wellness fairs or resource fairs for transition, but we also, with the VA, they hosted town halls which educated the community on what was coming up with the VA, the new programs, also providing benefits information if they needed it, and actually doing benefits appointments on the spot for those town halls. So that's what we were able to accomplish because, again, some of the service providers were not VA, but what the VA allowed us to do was to be able to share the information about our hospital and the services and programs that they had for those. So later on, we added the suicide prevention pillar and then also women veterans. Those two are, the suicide prevention one became important for us because Las Vegas was identified as one of the top cities for suicide amongst veterans. And so we were identified and accepted the challenge for the Mayor's Challenge. And a few of us went to D.C. to the Policy Academy and came back and are in the process of developing programs and strategies to make sure that our community is educated on suicide prevention. And so this year, as part of our CVEB, we will actually host an event for services for service providers after they've experienced a veteran in crisis. So that is new this year, and also for the women veterans. A couple of key relationships that we have, one being the VA, of course, but the Nevada Department of Veteran Services, which is our equivalent to our state veterans agency. We work closely with, again, both of those agencies to make sure that we reach out to all of the folks that are using those services. And then again, we have partnerships with the USO and the Airmen and Family Readiness Center with Nellis Air Force Base here, and then also we have a partnership with Work for Warriors that actually works with the Guard and Reserve, or the Guard here. So that's kind of what we've been working on for the last few years, but we are going to actually be hosting our first ever networking event that is going to not only invite the service providers themselves, but it will also invite the veterans in the community to actually meet the service providers so that they can put a face with the name or a face with the organization. So if it's something that they need, then they will be able to actually reach out and know who to call. And that's going to also be an opportunity for us to just educate the community on what we're doing and for them, because we're not really doing it for ourselves. We're kind of doing it for them. And so that just gives us an opportunity to do that. So there's, numbers of people that have come to the different events over the past couple of years. We've hosted about 7 events so far. And like I said, most of them are in partnership with the VA to host a town hall to make sure that we're constantly educating the community on VA services and programs that are available to them.
Well, thanks very much, Nina. The information you provided is proof that owing to the wonders of technology, what happens in Vegas doesn't necessarily stay in Vegas. We've got to move now to